Hey friends, welcome back to the Finding Joy in Your Home podcast. I am your host, Jami Balmain. Jason is joining me in this episode today.
Yes, I have. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a few months. And we are going to be doing one of our most requested episodes. Every few months, it seems like people say, hey, can you do a reading update? So we're going to be doing a reading update. Mostly Jason's going to be giving a reading update.
I haven't read that many more than that.
I feel like you're actually probably farther ahead of me than you think you are. I am super behind on my reading goals, but we're going to talk about all that. So we're going to dive in. First thing is announcement for you is we have our Joyful Home app.
Get it right.
I'm going to call it Finding Joy in Your Home. Our Joyful Home app. It's our new app/website. You can access it on the website. You can access it on the app. You can download it for iPhone or Android, where it has all of everything that we have been doing since 2012, 2014. We've got online conferences, we have audiobooks, and one of our newest things we just added is a category of book reviews.
Yes.
So Jason and I have started doing book reviews, and people are requesting that we start doing kids book reviews.
Ah, okay.
So that might have to be the next thing we add, but we do have book reviews on there, and just millions of things. So if you go to joyfulhomeapp.com, you can check it out. You can use coupon code joyfulhome20 if you want to get 20% off, but it's basically where we're putting everything that we do from now on. Any boot camps, we have online summer schools for kids this year, or summer, what do you call them?
Summer
camps. Summer camps for kids. We've got all of our conferences are going in there. Everything that we do is going to be in there now and moving forward, which is really, really exciting. You can get everything in one spot. So check it out, joyfulhomeapp.com.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk reading challenges. You say you're not as far behind. I think you're actually doing okay. Are you behind in your reading goal?
Yeah, I'm probably 10 books behind. Well, it depends on what you consider my reading goal.
Mine's a lot. Okay, let's back up and talk about reading goals. So I set my normal reading goal for this year, 103 books for the year. 104 books for the year, which is 2 books a week.
Yep.
And the beginning of this year, that looked pretty doable. That's a pretty normal pace for me when I'm reading. I have to keep up on it, but I can do it. It's pretty doable. I've hit that before. And this year has shaped up to be very different than we thought. And I think when we set our reading goals, we didn't know.
That was before our whole move changed and our plans changed.
Well, before I think I knew I was pregnant.
Yeah, actually.
And then now we're moving this month. So we've just got lots of different things going on.
Yeah.
So I kind of knew that I probably wouldn't stay on as much, but I've actually read a lot less in the last 2 months than is even normal. I have really not been reading a whole lot, which is fine, but I do miss it. And I'm very much looking forward to, once we get resettled, actually reading more again.
Yeah.
And I think you too.
Yeah.
We've just been, every night we've been working on getting the RV renovated and working on packing and all of the things. And so I am actually shocked how far behind I am. But then I look at how much, the books I've actually read since about April, and I'm like, no, that makes sense. I'm super behind.
Yep.
So that's my goal, 104 books, which with 2 books a week, as soon as you miss a couple weeks in a row, you're so far behind that it's alarming anyway. So I am at... Wait, so is that my books?
That's how many you read.
Okay. Usually I'm looking at this on my app, but I'm on the computer. So I've read 33 books for this year, which, I'm still super proud of. I think that's fantastic. 33 books is great, but I am 17 books.
Yeah, well, because it's the end of June, so you should be at 52.
17 books behind.
So that makes sense.
So I'm not catching up.
Actually, you have 1 week left, so exactly 50 right now. That's why it's 17 behind, yeah.
I'm not catching up this year. There's no way.
You could.
I could, but I don't think I am with all this stuff. The thing is, we are having a baby in August, and I do tend to read a lot when I'm nursing. Mm. So if I get on that nursing, in that good nursing groove of reading while I nurse, there's a chance I could catch up. But I don't know, because that would be reading 2 books a week plus more. So we'll see. But I'm assuming you're going to beat me this year, and that I'm going to be behind. But your reading goal this year is different. But also not different. Different, but secretly not different.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's your reading goal?
So because I've been planning to do more classes and other reading that are oriented for different reasons, I set my reading goal just at 1 book per week. So 52 books for the year. But
yeah, me too. I'm changing mine.
So if that is the case, I'm actually 16 books ahead of schedule, something like that. But
like your real secret
my
goal.
real secret goal is still
Why didn't
2
you
books
just
a
hit
week.
it at 104?
I don't know. I was trying to be nice to myself, but like in my brain, I've always still had it at 104, so it didn't actually help. I thought if I set it to 52, then
because you're gonna hit 52 for sure, and then
yeah.
you're still
So
gonna
like I've already read.
104.
I've read 40 books for the year.
Okay, yeah.
And so, but I'm still like I should be at 50, so I'm like 10 behind. If my goal is 104.
So you really could catch up because you haven't been you've been reading a little bit more than me. Well, especially
I was looking at the thing today is the
May.
23rd, and I haven't finished a book since the 10th. I've read since the 10th, but I haven't finished anything for 13 days, which is very unusual. Usually, I finish 4 books in that time.
Yeah.
So. We've been so busy, and it's been taking like nighttime is our primary time for reading, and we've been busy. We've been doing a lot of our packing
been too tired too.
or work on the RV in the evenings, and so that's just taking up a lot of our normal reading time.
Ready to get
and then when we
settled.
actually are like actually relaxing, we're so tired that sometimes we actually haven't been picking up books.
Yeah, I haven't been. I've been too tired. I've been worn out, which makes sense. I'm also 28 weeks pregnant, so. I've just been like, the energy has been zapped. But that's why I'm hoping once we get settled, because I do miss it. I mean, I don't feel bad. I think some people, when they set a reading goal, get really stressed that like, oh, if I get behind and it makes them feel worse.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then don't set a reading goal. Just enjoy reading. But for both of us, we really like setting a reading goal because we would prefer to read more. And I want to encourage myself to pick up more books and not watch TV and not be on, especially just you pick up your phone and like 15, 20 minutes goes by. You could have read a chapter. Yeah. So I like setting a goal because it does motivate me and I want to be reading more and I do miss it. And because I'm out of the habit of it right now, it's way harder to pick up a book. When you're in the like rhythm of like you finish a book and you're like, what's my next one? That's when I read so much more. Yeah. And not even because I'm not spending hours a day reading, because if you read with a nonfiction book, typical Christian nonfiction book is usually about 10 to 12 chapters. You can read a chapter in 10 to 15 minutes a day. So even if you were just to read 1 chapter a day of a nonfiction book, 10 to 15 minutes, you could easily read 2 books in a month.
Yep.
And so for me, I just feel like that's so much more productive. I love it more. I get way more out of that than scrolling Instagram. And it's like, how much time am I picking up my phone that I waste 10 to 15 minutes a day? And I'm totally in that habit right now of just like, oh, my phone's here. Because you get out of the habit of like, I normally just carry a book around with me, or I've got my Kindle. I can't find my Kindle this week. I actually wanted to read last night. And with moving craziness, I don't know where my Kindle went to.
Maybe it's packed away.
No, it's not. It's floating in the craziness that is this house right now. I'll find it.
Yeah, this house is like half empty, but also half wrecked. It's a weird combination.
We're in the thick of like that packing where I'm looking around our room and I'm like, ooh. But we actually, like, this is all empty. I just did all of my clothes yesterday. Like, stuff has been empty. Like, cupboards are empty, but then it makes the house feel fuller with all the boxes.
There's less places to put the things that are remaining.
Yeah, it's a little, we're getting furniture and stuff out of here too, but anyway, so that's what I'm hoping is like in July, I'd like to kind of encourage myself that I want to get back into that habit when we are back in good normal routines, pick up books and get back into just that rhythm of getting into them. Because I actually have a stack of books and actually packing the books and getting them ready for the RV, of choosing which ones are going to go in the RV. That always makes me excited. Like when I look at my stack of books, that's what makes me, we both have a big stack right there. I was going through books yesterday
and I was having the same.
I'm like, oh, I just need to read because I want to get to these books. So that was actually motivating. So
what do you say? Starting July 1st, 3 a week.
Yes. 3 a week.
That's how we catch up.
Okay. We'll see. We'll see. We probably could if we really were getting back into reading, but that would be great.
Yeah. Even with you being 17 books behind, if you just read like 2.5 per week, you'd get almost there.
Oh, okay. Well, so maybe I can.
Actually, you'd get, almost there.
It really, for me, it's going to depend on nursing. Because there are times with nursing and having a newborn where you're just too tired. Like your eyes are closing and you're not reading. But I do like I'll listen to audiobooks during that time. So if I can capture that time and it works well to read, then I'll probably be good. If not, then this will be like my worst year in many years, which is totally fine because I'm still happy with the amount I read. And as long as for me, it's like if I'm using the time well, if I'm using the time for what I want to be using it for. So like, I'm not mad this month that I have barely read because we've been too tired.
Yep.
And we've been watching a TV show together. We've been enjoying that time. Yeah. And so I'm not mad about that, but I want to make sure when our routines are better that I want to pick up more books so that I am. So, okay. So let's talk about some recent books that we've read. I'll start because my list is very short. I'm pretty sure.
You're talking about some of your highlights for the year?
Yeah, I mean, we did.
For the first half of the year.
So I'm pretty sure we did a review, though, a couple of months ago.
I don't think we did. I think this is our first for the year.
So I feel like I talked about like Bad Therapy, though. Look, this was back. I finished Bad Therapy April 7th. So
I think you've talked about them elsewhere, and you have mentioned them.
We did do book reviews of these, so maybe I'm getting confused.
I think that's what you're thinking of.
Okay, well, I'll go a few back. And if I covered these in the last book review, forgive me. Okay, so I am actually right now, the books I am finishing is I'm listening to the audiobooks of Harry Potter. I have to reread them every couple of years. And so I'm in book 4 right now. So those are the ones I am finishing because when I'm packing and stuff, I've been listening to them, which has been really fun because I love Harry Potter. My most recent nonfiction book I finished was awesome. It's called Becoming Homeschoolers by Monica Swanson. It's a brand new book. I just did an interview with her. If you guys missed it a couple of weeks ago here on the podcast, it's a fantastic book for newbies, like absolute people who are like, I want to homeschool but know nothing about it. Terrific introduction. But then even for me, we've been homeschooling for a while. You're second gen homeschooler. We're not new to this. I really enjoyed it because then she has chapters that break down like typical stuff to cover for elementary school, good ideas for middle school, for high school. So there was just so many good things that wasn't for me. It wasn't like earth shattering, but there was so much good stuff in it. I actually think maybe you should just read those chapters.
Okay.
On like, because we're getting ready for middle school for the first time. Yeah,
and that's really where I think the rigor is going to increase for us. I mean, all of their school, like they've been learning a lot, and they've been doing a lot since first grade. But like we're really getting even more serious when it comes to all that stuff as of middle school, which is just in 1 year.
Yeah, and I liked her chapters on that. I just realized if you're watching the video, I've got primer all over me still. I can't get it off. Primer is terrible because it's like glue. We've been painting the RV and I'm dotted with it everywhere. And now it looks like a gray. It probably looks like I have like bruises all over my arms.
It just looks like you're dirty.
Yeah, actually it does, huh? It's paint that I'm trying to get off. I need to put some like lotion on, I think.
That could do it.
And like
maybe some lemon oil or something.
That's a good idea. Yeah, because it's almost like feels like goo stuff now.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so Becoming Homeschoolers. And then I read Irreversible Damage, The Transgender Craze Seducing Our Daughters. I did a book review for that one in our book reviews in the new app. We both read this. I made Jason read it after I did. Managers.
She held my head and turned the pages up in front of my eyes.
Read it. Managers of Their Chores. Now, this is an old book from like, I think the 1990s. I don't know when it was first published. This app says first published in 1079.
Yes, it was.
That's not correct.
It was published in 1079.
That's not correct. I think it's from the 1990s. So it's actually an old book. A lot of people are like, oh, I loved that book back in the day. I don't know where I've been that I've never heard of it before. I've never heard of their ministry. But Managers of Their Chores, while we're not going to implement everything from it, there was some really good takeaways for just increasing responsibility for kids, teaching them chores, kind of training them in certain areas. And we've been kind of like talking about revamping and working on the way we do that with our older kids. And so I had Jason, I thought, hey, since we're talking about this right now, read this and we can discuss it. Mm-hmm. So it was really interesting. There was some stuff that was very basic on like why chores are important for kids, which we already agree with, but especially for someone who's dipping their toes into training kids on chores, there was just a lot of good ideas and practical stuff in there. So that one was really good. I liked that one. Common Arts Education, renewing the classical tradition of training the hands, head, and heart. Oh, and I will ask Jason to you want to link all these down below?
Sure.
So people don't have to find them all. So this one was really great. Did you end up reading this one yet?
Nope.
Okay, so this is another good one that you would really enjoy because this is another thing we're working on. Common Arts Education just goes through learning trades and crafts. So it has all the importance of that. It talks about, then there's like every chapter then at the end is like, how do you learn welding? How do you learn leather work? How do you learn cooking? And gives like really good suggestions for like how to get started in it, advanced ideas, and then it gives resources for learning more. It is so awesome. And that's so much of what we're trying to incorporate in our homeschool that it was a lot of what they're talking about is actually how do you institute this in classical schools. But so much of it you just take and can translate straight to
modify
homeschool.
It for homeschool.
Or if your kids are in a traditional school setting, this is stuff you do on the nights and the weekends. And it just a lot of really, really good stuff in there. And I have a full review in the app on that one as well. And then Bad Therapy. This was a really, really good one. Oh, this is one you read. I keep reading ones this year that
you're eliminating half of the list that I'm going to be able to talk
about. Why the Kids Aren't Growing Up. This was really, really eye-opening. I've been doing a lot of reading this year on just kind of what's going on with our generations, with Gen Z especially, and Gen Alpha, which is, Gen Z I think is about 12 to 27-year-olds. Gen Alpha is the littles under that. And just being really aware culturally of how the culture is shaping these kids. A lot of the internet stuff that even as adults, we're not like a lot of the stuff she talks about that, 16-year-olds are seeing on Instagram. It's not what my Instagram looks like. I'm not coming in contact with that stuff because your Instagram feed becomes very curated for you. Mine's all farming and homeschool stuff. And so it's just really good to be aware of so much of that stuff. Do you have anything to add on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've read several books on the same topic, or at least similar topics. And so for me, between that and The Anxious Generation, it was...
Now you're stealing my book.
And there was, I feel like, one more that I read. And it's just really been on the same topic of a lot of the issues that have been causing the current young generations to have the issues that they're having. And so it's really good for us now. I mean, because we're not part of those generations, but we're raising those generations. Yeah. And so a lot of it is like, yes, I agree with that. And we're not doing that. We're doing that differently already. And we're going to continue doing that differently. And in other cases, it's like, ooh, that is good to know because it's things that might come up later because our kids are still pretty young.
It's good to be aware, though, too, like our children will not have social media. And that's huge, but their peers might. And so there's a lot to understand, too, of what their peers are coming in contact with. Right. So Jason, the book Jason just mentioned is The Anxious Generation, How the Great Rewiring of Childhood is Causing an Epidemic of Mental Illness. This one's interesting. This is written by an atheist. So there was a few things in there that I just obviously didn't agree with his conclusions. But he just looks at study after study after study on what is causing anxiety and the rapid rise of anxiety. And this is something I'm very interested in because we are seeing a lot of Gen Z, young adults, who they have such crippling anxiety that they can't function. Mm-hmm. So I was, we live in a college town, and I was at Panera a couple of weeks ago, and there was these two college girls sitting next to me, and they're just talking about, their day, and I'm working and trying to ignore. And one of them says, what did she say? She said, oh yeah, ever since 2020, I have such anxiety being around people. And I was like, that's interesting. And then she goes, like I really want to get back to the gym. I really want to do stuff, but I have such bad gym anxiety. And she said it as if that's like a term. That's a thing. And the other girl goes, oh yeah, no, me too. I totally get it. And it's just, it's really sad to see that we do have young adults who can't go to the gym because there's other people. It's too much. And also, I think these younger generations are using their anxiety to mask hard things. Maybe it's not truly gym anxiety. You just don't want to go to the gym, but you're masking it as an anxious thing. So then it's okay because it's a disorder, rather than you're just being lazy and not going to the gym because you don't want to. And there is a lot, and there is true anxiety in this generation for sure. There's so much that we just need to be aware of that is really, really good for raising our own children. So that was another good one. I think Anxious Generation and Bad Therapy kind of put together. I think both of them missed large pieces of it. Yeah. And putting them together, it was like,
they overlapped in a nice way, I think.
Yeah, because there's also so much. Neither book really addressed the parents' role well enough. Bad Therapy did so more, but it was kind of almost like they kind of ignored the parents doing anything wrong or right. And it was kind of all about social peers or social media. And it was like, there needs to be a bridge.
Exactly. There needs to be more like, as parents, this is what you can be doing to help. Yeah. As opposed to just like, this is what your kids are going through because of these various things. It's like, well, a lot of those various things you can control or highly influence as the parent.
Yeah. Or some of it's like, generations do have blind spots. Millennials have blind spots. Yeah. Gen X, boomers, we all know everybody has blind spots. But some of it, too, is like, well, there are ways where parents mess up and there's going to be blind spots that millennials have that we need to be aware of. And so it's very interesting. Okay, well, I will stop talking about that. I also have a review of that one in the app. And then the last one I'll do, also have a review in the app for this one, because I've read a lot of good books this year, actually, is Really Very Crunchy. A Beginner's Guide to Removing Toxins from Your Life Without Adding Them to Your Personality by Emily Morrow. If you know her, she's really very crunchy on Instagram. I think she is hilarious. I really liked the book, and I've heard from a couple people who are really interested in natural things but don't have any experience that they really, really liked the book. It was a great intro. I've been crunchy now for 12, 13 years, so there was nothing new in the book for me, but it was really interesting. My biggest problem with this book is that it is published by a Christian publisher, and they're not publicly Christian on their Instagram, which is fine. They're like a satire, account. That's okay. But they're published by a Christian account, and then they vaguely reference God, I think once, maybe twice. And my biggest problem with a book like this, when we're talking about healthy living, is that I think from a Christian perspective, you 100% cannot leave God out of the equation, because it's not just about making lifestyle changes. It's that everything we do is wholly dependent on the Lord. God is sovereign over absolutely everything. So there are times where God calls me to make food for my family. I don't think that's an excuse. Well, God is sovereign, so we're going to eat McDonald's 7 times a day and none of it matters. No, we're actually called to steward our families well, to steward our health well. We both have areas that we've been working on for our health because we want vitality to be able to take care of our kids. There's really important things. But if that's not blended with the fact that God is sovereign over everything, you're going to become a basket case about it. You're going to stress about every single thing that gets put in your family's mouth. You're not going to let your kids have a cookie at a party because you're so stressed that it's going to kill them. And it just becomes this extreme unhealthiness with health. And I think this is a more recent trend. I think those of us who've been kind of on the crunchy spectrum for many years, we entered at such a different time that it feels like there's a lot less stress, where the people who are newer into this crunchy lifestyle have a lot harder time with it. And I think it's because of social media. Every single thing you see is, oh, your car seat's going to kill your kids, and this, and you have to have the $800 stroller because it doesn't have flame retardants, or not even $800, probably the $2,000 stroller. I agree with that. It'd be wonderful it didn't have flame retardants. I don't have the budget for that, though. And I'm going to use my flame retardant stroller, and I'm going to thank the Lord for it. And I'm going to rest in his sovereignty, knowing that I can't control everything anyway. And so there's just a big gap there. So I think it was a really interesting book. But there's actually, I am working on my own kind of version of that topic that will be coming from a different angle and then baby steps. So that's actually going to be coming out on the app. Hopefully in July. I've made really good progress on that. It'll come out on the app as audiobook and ebook in July, and then we'll also have a print version. I was going to say, we're
going to actually print this one.
Yep. Yeah. So that's going to be really fun.
Yeah, I agree.
Really, really fun. But I mean, that book's worth reading, but I would just keep it, take it with that caveat.
Yep.
Okay. That was going all the way back to like my February reading. So I am going to turn it to you. Let's talk about yours.
My turn. So
I didn't think I was going to talk that long.
What didn't you already talk about that I can talk about?
I don't know. You've read a ton.
I've read more, but you just talked about like half the books I've read. So one book, I'm actually not quite done with it, but I already know that I'm going to really enjoy it, is The Fulfillment of the Promises of God, an Explanation of Covenant Theology. It is based... Is
that like a pretty little one?
No, I mean, it's not like a... It's not a chunker. Well,
Jason reads like the 1,000.
It's less than an inch. I think it's like
smaller.
I think it's about 300, 350 pages.
So like a normal size book.
Yeah. But it's really good. It's a pretty concise summary and explanation of covenant theology. And then it goes into minor and major variations. It talks a lot about certain theologians that have slight variations or even larger variations, such as Meredith Kline, or even talking about like...
So does this serve as like a good introduction?
It would be a good introduction, yeah.
To covenant theology. Yes,
it would. It's a more recent book. It's pretty new. It was within the last few years came out, and I would recommend it. Actually, I took one of the seminary classes I took this year online was actually one on covenant theology taught by Ligon Duncan from RTS. And he actually has a blurb on the book where or maybe he writes the intro. I can't remember which, but in it, he actually says like, this is going to be like a book that I add as one of the books that my students will read as like one of the introductions to the topic. So I would recommend it as such. I think it's a good one. And like I said, I'm not quite done with it. I'm nearly done with it, but I've really enjoyed what I've read so far. Yeah. So moving on, what else have I read? Oops, wrong list. I have read that's of note. Bad Therapy, Managers of Their Chores. Already talked about those. Let's see here.
You're reading. Jason's reading through Chronicles of Narnia.
Yes,
with the kids
we're
right
reading.
Now.
Yes.
Are you on book 4?
We are on book 4. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we are currently reading Prince Caspian. We're nearly done. We have like one chapter left.
Oh wow!
But we've been so busy that I don't think we read it at all last week.
Yeah, we haven't been doing normal school this month.
But
July 1st.
Yes. So this is our second time as a family through it. We read them all when they were younger, a few years ago, and so we're going through them again and really enjoying it.
It's been fun, yeah. Everybody's really enjoyed that.
Yeah. So I read a book called Man of the House, a handbook for building a shelter that will last in a world that is falling apart by C.R. Wiley. I actually did a review of this book on the app, so you can hear detailed thoughts there. I did really enjoy it.
I really like C.R. Wiley.
The topic was great, and he covered it well. My main detractions was it was a bit short. It seemed like it could have been longer to more thoroughly cover the topic. And also, it was very heavily philosophy based. I would have preferred personally more
practical advice.
No, there's practical advice too, but I was actually thinking I would have wanted more scripture in it, actually.
More biblical.
But I talk about it more in the review. Probably the best book I've read this year was called Measures of the Mission, a survey of the Bible, Church, and Family.
You put that in my pile to read.
Yeah, you're supposed to read it.
I will. I'm going to get to it in July.
It's really good. I highly recommend it. I also did a review of this one.
I started talking over you.
It's a survey of the Bible, Church, and Family. Okay. And it really it talks about Measures of the Mission shows how the coming of the King, Jesus, affects our understanding of the kingdom story, the Bible, Kingdom Central, the church, and Kingdom Living, culture and vocation. That's from the little blurb. And it's a very good look at the gospel of the kingdom, and it really kind of it gives a more expansive view on what that actually should mean.
And so, like, they talk about like how like within your work you're doing God's work. Like, how do you apply that to just family life? And,
yes, it does.
Okay.
It does.
That sounds really good.
And it goes into the same thing in the church, and it really has a very ecclesiocentric, not like not talking about like an ecclesiocratic type thing, but an ecclesiocentric in that that is really the center of focus of your life. And
I'm just laughing at you for all your big words.
None of us understand. I can tell you're laughing at me.
A couple of us understand.
And okay. Anyways, bottom line, it's not a terribly long book. It is not terribly complicated, and I really enjoyed it. So it's definitely my book of the year so far, halfway through the year.
That's great.
And I actually did a review on that one, so you can hear me talk about that.
I haven't watched your reviews in there. I need to go watch the reviews.
I have. I've watched yours because I have to edit
Jason edited. Jason gets to listen to me all the time. Actually, while you're looking for books, another series I've been reading this year that I've been loving so much is Anne of Green Gables. Of course, I read them as a girl, but I have not read them as an adult. And I am recording the audiobooks of those for the app. Book 1 is done in like 3 days, right? Jason's at the very
I literally
end.
just need to sit down 1 or 2 more times and I can finish it. I've just been so busy.
It's going to be on the app. I mean, early July. It'll be the next thing that we get published out on the app. And then I'm halfway through recording book 2, and I'm going to get ahead on those so that one can come out each month. But those have been so fun. So I always laugh because Jason's now listening to me read him Anne of Green Gables.
Well, I've never read Anne of Green Gables, so this is actually my first time through it. So I'm actually enjoying it.
Yeah.
I've been interested.
Yeah, it's been good, huh?
Yeah.
They're actually really, I love Anne of Green Gables. So those have been really fun. And we do have the audiobooks coming. Those have been really, really fun to record, to do Anne's voice. And she gets all excited. And those have been actually really fun. So look for those on the app soon. The Anne of Green Gables audiobook 1 is coming any day now.
Yeah.
Any day.
I should have been done with it by now.
Start emailing Jason daily, you guys, and say, where is Anne of Green Gables?
Please don't.
But say it nicely with a heart or something.
I already have too much email.
That's true. Okay. And then the next book. So speaking of books, Jason just finished recording the complete series of Winnie the Pooh. He does
the second volume came out last month.
They're so fun. Yeah. So complete collection of Winnie the Pooh is in the app, which is really fun. And then I think the next book you're going to record is Treasure Island.
I believe so.
Which is going to be...
I have a list of books. I think that's the top.
That one's going to be really, really good. And that should hopefully come out in July too.
Yeah. I should have time for that.
Yeah.
I'm
committing Jason to things.
Yeah. No, it's just that this whole month my schedule has been so off of my normal working time because of throwing in the move and everything. It's just been like...
you've been shipping our summer
I don't even know what end is up at the moment.
I know.
So...
well, we're going to get Treasure Island because that one's a really good one. Okay.
Yeah.
What else have you read this year?
So another one that I really enjoyed was Confessing the Faith, which is basically just a reader's guide to the Westminster Confession of Faith. It has...
Is that a pretty big... That one's a pretty big one, isn't it?
It's pretty thick, yeah.
Is it up there?
No, it's packed.
Okay.
It is... I actually did a review on this one, so you can even talk about it more. It's about 500 pages. And for every chapter and every paragraph of the confession, it just has Chad Van Dixhoorn, the author, his commentary on each section, so you can just help to understand it more, or at least his understanding of what each of these sections means. So
that's really interesting.
It is helpful. Yeah, I have actually several other books that I'm supposed to read this year on the same topic by other authors, and so I will be reviewing those when I read them.
Jason likes to deep dive. He's like, I'm going to learn everything there is to know.
Well, I don't just want to know what one dude thinks.
Westminster Confession.
I want to know what a bunch of dudes think, so then
that.
I can actually have more to pull from to help my own understanding.
I love that. I'm like, Jason, what do we think on this topic? And he's like, well, I read 42 books and listened to 80 sermons, so I'll give you my synopsis.
I have several topics that I'm, like this year, going to be doing that on. So.
Yeah. Well, so actually, one of the things we're going to be doing on the app and also in our bookstore is Jason is finally starting. We've talked about this before. Jason's finally starting. I don't know. We need to come up, because how many good name ideas? We need to come up with a name idea for like our series, but Jason's going to be working on a series of like books, but that are really short, more like between a booklet and a book, on different topics. So like we're going to do infant baptism is going to be, or not infant baptism, but baptism is going to be one of his first. And he's going to get into the arguments for both sides, both arguments, resources for learning more.
Yeah. Well, that is a big thing. What I'm hoping for these to be is not just like the resource that you need. It will be, my goal with them is to be a summary and
like a beginning resource.
It'll be a beginner's resource of for the various topics with a bunch of resource recommendations that I'll be citing, and then also like including as recommended further reading. So it can be, if all you want is to dip your toes in the topic and have a summary, then it can be just your one-stop shop. But if you want to then go and use that as your launching point for deeper studying of your own, it will also have further reading resources and stuff like that.
The reason we really want, and not just not like a paragraph summary. You'll get into the different arguments.
It'll be more
and
like
the
a
pros
booklet,
and cons
not a pamphlet.
So one of the reasons we're doing this is like when we baptism's a big one we've studied in the last 5 years, and with baptism it's hard. You listen to a sermon, and obviously everybody's biased in their opinion, but it can be hard with certain topics, especially ones that are a lot more torn, like baptism. Is you can listen to a great sermon, but they'll say, oh well, Credo Baptists think this, but they're not actually portraying what Credo Baptists really and you're like, no, that's not actually what they believe, or that's maybe a small fraction, or and vice versa. And so it can be very, very difficult sometimes to just be like, okay, so eschatology, what are the different views and where are they getting those views from? Yeah. And where can you study more pros and cons? So,
well, it's the straw man versus the steel man. A lot of resources that we've read over the years of studying various topics is you very often find that those who hold one view tend to put up caricatures of the opposing views. And I don't even know if it's necessarily intentional. Sometimes I'm sure it is, but sometimes it's just because they don't understand it because it's so foreign or like silly to them that they can't even fathom what they actually believe from scripture. So we actually found a lot of success in reading from actual people who actually hold each view in the various doctrines. So you're actually getting a more of a fair. My intent with these is to actually present more of a fair depiction of each of the various views in these various things.
Well, and I think beyond that too, I think when you're studying something and you don't know anything about it. So when we started studying eschatology, I'm just going to tell you, we knew nothing. Hardly at all.
Read Left Behind when I was a kid.
Yeah, right. We didn't know. We didn't even know, like, it's okay. We knew nothing. And what's hard when you're first studying a topic, I want to study eschatology. You pick up a random book and you don't necessarily realize what that author believes or like how narrow maybe their focus is. Now, there are times and places for that. I think when you're studying a topic, if you're studying baptism, you absolutely should read books by an infant Baptist and by an adult Baptist. You should read both of those from their perspectives. I think that's fantastic, right?
But infant Baptists baptize adults, though. You mean a believer's Baptist?
Yes, whatever. Okay. Credo versus Pedo Baptist.
Yes.
He's so technical.
Well, actually.
Yes, thank you for the clarification. But I just mean, you need to read from those perspectives as well. So what we want these resources to do is to help you to enter in at what is eschatology? I don't know these terms. I don't know what they all are. Here's what they all are. Here are for people who, hold to premillennialism. What does that mean? And here are why from scripture they, hold to it. And here are the refutes from scripture to that, or the arguments against. And then here are resources for digging in more if you want to read more on the perspective of people who are pro or con for that one thing, and to kind of have that resource all there.
Yeah, so that is the goal.
So we have a series of those coming out. We've got the first ones planned are going to be eschatology. I don't know which order. Eschatology, baptism, head covering. We have a whole list somewhere, but those I think
those
will
are probably the first ones.
Probably the first few. So if you guys have things you want, communion would probably be another good one eventually.
Yeah,
that's a big one.
That's a big one.
But
that's actually one of the topics that I'm doing a lot of reading on.
Yeah. So Jason's going to do the legwork for you and read the 45 books.
I'll read the 45 books, and then I will give you my summary.
Yes, and then he'll tell you which ones are good.
Yeah, you can decide which ones you want to
read later. That's what I do. I'm like, okay, you read all the baptism books, and then tell me which few that I should read. So anyway, I am really excited for that because it's going to take all of that, and those are going to be great. So we will have print versions of those books, which I think will be totally worth having, but they will also be audiobooks and ebooks within our app as well.
Yeah.
And when you have a subscription to the app, you just get access to literally everything. Everything we've talked about today that's in the app, you just get with one subscription. And also everybody...
We haven't talked about that if they're going to be ebooks or not.
Yeah. We'll put them in as ebooks too.
Now you've committed.
Yeah.
I guess they are.
Well, they should be.
I was just thinking our Christian classics are not.
That's true.
Or are they? No, they're not currently.
Oh, a couple of them are though, and I think you could get them uploaded. I think they should be in the app. Anyway, I'm always committing Jason to new projects. Sorry, babe. But with your subscription to the app, everybody in your family can download and listen, which is sometimes every phone has to have its own subscription, which is just terrible. You have a universal account you sign into, so you can download it on your iPhone app. Your husband can download it on his Android app. Yes, you can download it on both. It's not specific.
And you can pull it up on your laptop on the web.
Pull it up on your laptop. Your kids can listen to the audiobooks, the courses we have in there for kids. It's just, and everybody can be listening at once and have stuff saved. And it's very nice and easy that way. So the amount of resources. And we are going to be working on getting a lot more resources for men in the app. We do have our Christian classics, which we need to get the rest of those uploaded in there. But then these theology books that you're going to be working on are going to be perfect for men. Like if you're like, oh, my husband would love that. We're going to get more and more resources for men. Eventually sometime, Jason's going to be working on a conference for men.
You're like talking about things we've like
the things.
Not even close to doing.
I know, but it's coming and I'm going to have you do it soon. No, just kidding. No, but it is fun. That's one of the things we really are working on is a lot more resources for men in the app because we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of stuff for women. So it'll be really fun to kind of have you work on getting more stuff because that's a big thing we get requested is for men.
We have the vast majority is currently is geared towards women. We've been working on filling out some more stuff for kids and family stuff, and we have a lot more coming.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely men is the category we have the least for.
And we always want to hear back from you guys if you're like, oh, we'd love to see this. We'd love to, and we really want to make the app the resources that you guys want. So anyway, sorry, I get so excited about the app. I wasn't even going to talk about it, and then I get all excited. So check it out, joyfulhomeapp.com. All right, so I think that's it. If you're going to put the links in for us of all these books we talked about, if you can remember or at least write them out. I always say in my podcast, I'll put it in the links down below. And then I literally never remember. So
unless I do it for you.
So yes. Or if Jason
if they're in there, it's because I did it.
Yes, it's actually really true. I will remember like once out of 50 times.
Yeah.
Maybe.
There are lots of podcasts though. Like I always hear like, oh yeah, we'll put that in the show notes. And I look at the show notes and I'm like, you didn't put it.
Okay. It's not.
And it always makes me sad. So I always try to do it for ours.
I know. It's so much better to have the links there.
Because they mention things that I want to look at and then they're not there.
We need to be better at it. I need to start writing notes to myself. Like, do this. I need to stop as soon as I'm done recording, I need to send you an email and say, put links in for these. Because then it's fresh on my mind. But then when you edit the podcast 3 weeks later, I don't remember. Are there any links in here? I don't know. Okay. Anyway, thanks for joining us for this very chatty episode of Reading with Jason and Jami. This will be one of the last episodes we have here in our house with our fun little backdrop.
We'll have probably one more unless you record extras this week.
I'm hoping to.
You were going to last week. That didn't
I
happen.
know. I really am hoping to get a few more recorded. But I don't know. I don't know if it's going to happen at this point.
We'll
so this
see.
might be one of the last episodes with this background. But otherwise, we have I can't wait to show you. We've got actually a really fun background in the RV. We're going to be recording in our bedroom. And I have already painted and put up wallpaper in that room. And it looks so good.
It really does.
Looks really good.
Where we're going to film doesn't have much of a background.
Yes, it's going to have wallpaper and
you
paint.
haven't done it yet.
I'm not fully done with the room yet.
Okay.
I'm working on it. So maybe a episode or two will have a funky background and then it'll be good.
Yeah. It'll get there.
It'll get there. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in with us. Go check out joyfulhomeapp.com. You can use coupon code joyfulhome20. Joyfulhome20, all one word, 20. Joyfulhome20 for 20% off your subscription. That applies to the monthly, and it also applies to the annual, which is our light just turned off.
Hopefully the camera didn't turn off.
I think it's just the light. We're in darkness now, recording the end of this. The applies to the annual. The annual is the best price ever because you already get 2 months free and then 20% on top of that. And the 20% works month after month after month. So it's not just 20% off your first month. As long as you stay a subscriber, you'll get it month after month after month, which makes your subscription $10 a month to get access to all of these resources. And we have new stuff coming out on the app every single month. Yeah. As I keep committing Jason to more and more
Pretty
things.
much every single week almost.
Yeah, actually. Oh, especially next week. Once we get settled, Jason will be cranking out the stuff again.
Yeah, June's been slower, but we still had a whole
2 boot camps
coming out
for kids.
So actually, even this month.
We have such a back catalog of stuff to get in there still. Once July 1st hits, I think Jason will be cranking stuff out again.
Back to that, yeah. I actually had to take putting back catalog stuff off this month just because it's been so busy, but that'll be coming back to putting in some of the old classics as well.
I'm really ready to be moved and done.
Yeah.
Just 9 more days or whatever.
Just
we're almost
9 more
there.
days of 7 more days of crazy work. And then hopefully our life will be back to normal. Which is already,
and then we'll have a baby in August.
Our normal life is pretty darn busy, but it's not compared to this.
No, it's going to be wonderful. Yeah. All right. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys back here next week for the next episode.